Excuse me. What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your Real Housewives of Beverly Hills review, which is late as hell, I know. Season 9, episode 10. Um, Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. All my social media is in the description, so go ahead and check it out. Follow me on, Twitter and Instagram, so forth. So, this episode it felt like a filler. This was a point when the season where Lisa Vanderpump wasn't filming anymore with the girls. And so you saw her, the only time you really saw Lisa this episode was her with the renovations of the kitchen and her sort of talking to Ken. They didn't really get a whole lot into it other than, kind of talking about Kyle a little bit and, when using the sledgehammer when they were doing the kitchen, kind of thing, getting her energy out. She did still call Kyle a friend, though, so I thought that was a little promising. But we know that at this point in current time, they're still not speaking. And at this point, Lisa's really not speaking to anybody. Her and PK, who the first scene of the episode is Denise and Dorit talking, and they actually talk about, how do you even know Lisa Vanderpump? And she said, well, through PK. Her and PK have been friends since going back to London. They've been really good friends. And, I miss Lisa, but I do believe that Lisa did. I believe Lisa leaked that story. And what they're saying is that they think Lisa leaked the Radar Online story and then set up the TMZ story to make her look good, like, oh, I'm defending my friend kind of thing. At this point, I don't know and I don't care. I've said what I said in my opinion. People have been in my comments telling me yes, no, they agree, they disagree, whatever. I understand Lisa is a conniving person, but I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But, so we saw Denise, like I said, and Dorit, and they talked about Lisa Vanderpump, and just basically, Dorit said, she wants to work things out, but, basically they're kind of at a standstill because Lisa's not even speaking to anybody. She said, Lisa hasn't reached out to me, she hasn't called me. If she has nothing to hide, why hasn't she said anything to me? And like I said last week, and if Lisa was on Watch What Happens Live, and she said that because Andy asked her, he said, well, why have you stopped talking to all the girls if your problem is with Kyle? And she said, because Kyle told me that all the girls believe it, so why am I going to entertain any of them? And I said that on my review. I was like, that's why she ain't speaking to all of them, because her thing was, you believed it. So why do I have anything to say to you? So anyway. So Kyle throws Camille a bridal shower. And it looked like it was really nice. It was at a nice restaurant outdoors. It was all good. Everything was cool. The only major thing I should say that really came up was Lisa didn't show up for the Lisa Vanderpump, that is. And Kyle was like, well, I invited her. I don't know if she's coming tonight because I haven't talked to her since we had our big blow up. So I don't know if she's coming tonight. Camille is there. And she just basically talks about her journey. I have not watched every single season of this show, but I did watch the first season when Camille was on there with the whole thing with her and Kelsey. And then we know what happened after that season was over. Kelsey really, it got dirty between them. It got really nasty and it got really dirty between the two of them. And so, excuse me, Camille was just talking about basically, all the things that she went through to get to this point and to just be in love again. And she seems to be in a really good place. We found out that Rinna's mom is in town. Now, look, I don't know what this is. And again, I have not looked at every single episode, so maybe Lisa explained it at some point. I have such a problem with people who call their parents by their first name. It irks me. It gets under my skin. And she calls her mom Lois, and I don't know. It's their thing. It's what they do. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it bothers me. It's just something that bothers me. But she is in town, Miss 90-year-old, and she's doing her thing. We'll see her later on in the episode. We learned some really interesting information about Miss Lois, too. That definitely was really deep. It got really, really deep. But that's pretty much how everything went down at the bridal shower. I hope I'm not missing nothing important that happened, but that's pretty much what I picked up from it. Erika Jayne is rehearsing for her tour. She says she don't have time to socialize. She don't have time to family, friends, nothing. She got to get this tour together and get ready for this tour. And that's pretty much what that was. We see a scene where she accidentally gets kicked in the head, but she keeps it moving. She's very professional. You could tell, it was a little bothersome to her, but she was like, hey, this is what happens. Sometimes when you're on stage, you get kicked, you get hit, you got to keep it moving. Your costume comes off, you got to keep it moving. So her tour is starting in a few days, so we saw that. We didn't really see a lot of Erika Jayne either. The only other thing that really came up at the bridal shower was, Lisa Rinna putting batteries in bags, talking about because Kyle told, she said, well, I did invite Lisa. Maybe you should text Lisa and let her know she was missed. And Lisa Rinna was like, the hell she was missed? Where the hell are you? Why aren't you here? You know what I'm saying? Just because you're not getting along with Kyle right now, this isn't about Kyle. This is about Camille. Bring your ass to the to the bridal shower. But y'all know Lisa Rinna good for that. She good for putting a battery in the back. We saw a little filler scene with Kyle and her daughter. Kyle bought one of them little toy go-karts, one of them luxury go-karts, and she went to the grocery store and then couldn't get her groceries home because she forgot she wasn't rolling in her regular size car, honey. At one point, she had a pumpkin in her car. I'm thinking, where the hell you think you're going with a pumpkin? Your car was this big. It was cute, though. I'm sure she said it was cheaper than a vintage Jaguar, but I bet you it costs the same as a regular Jaguar. But I ain't mad at you. Rich women with their toys. If you got it, have fun with it. But it looked like it was cute. And she was saying how with Portia, she's trying to get Portia to be a little more independent. She realizes that she raised her younger daughters, that she did everything for them. And so when they kind of got older, they didn't really have the skills to be independent. And so she's trying to not make that same mistake with Portia and let Portia be a little more independent. And I can respect that. Remember the scene when she took her daughter to school up in DC and GW, and her daughter didn't know about how to clean a toilet. And I don't think that's as much of me doing things for her as she grew up in a house full of probably maids her whole life, housekeepers. So she's never had a need to clean a toilet because her toilet's always been clean. All she knows how to do is flush a toilet because that's all she's ever had to do. But it was a little filler scene. It wasn't really a whole lot with that. Then we see another filler scene. At least in my mind, it was a filler scene. We see Lisa Rinna and her daughters hanging out with her mom, and they go to one of those clinics where they get the vitamin IV drip, and she does the UV ray, and the daughters do the cryo thing. It gets real cold, and it's supposed to be all great for you. Lois said, "I'm gonna sit over here. I'm good." Miss Lois said, I'll wait for y'all. She said, I'll watch y'all do all this crazy stuff. I'm good. And Lisa said, her mom's never had a massage, a facial, or anything else. And her mama looked good. So maybe you should take heed that, just live your life, man. But it was a little filler scene. Again, it wasn't really a whole lot with it. Then we get to dinner. They taking Miss Lois out to dinner. All the ladies come. Lisa set up this dinner, and all the ladies are there, and they're having a really good time. But then they get to talking about politics, and this was around the time when the Kavanaugh hearings were going on, and Lisa was talking about, Lisa Rinna was talking about the Kavanaugh hearings and how serious this was and how important this was at this point in our life, and they were talking about believing the doctor that said that Kavanaugh had assaulted her, and Camille was like, well, I have a difference of opinion. So they were like, well, what do you mean? She said, I just don't believe her. There just isn't enough evidence. And they were like, what? What do you mean there's just not enough evidence? And she said, well, I just feel like, if she had been assaulted, she would have told somebody, which is bullshit. Most people don't tell anybody, or they don't, most people don't tell people because they're embarrassed about what happened. She said, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it, and I just think that it's just not enough evidence and for us to make this type of decision. And so, of course, it became a debate at the table, and a lot of the women were on the side of the accuser saying, hey, I've gone through this and I didn't say anything, and that, and they were like, well, what if somebody, and so Camille was like, well, I've been assaulted. It's happened to me. And I don't know who it was. It wasn't Lisa. I don't know if it was Kyle. But somebody said, well, what if they didn't believe you? She said, oh, well, you just don't believe me. I don't care. And she said, but I told people. I told my boyfriend. I told my mother. I told my therapist. And Lisa was like, well, she did tell people years later. I mean, if it really happened, she would have said something. And we know that that's just not true. I understand Camille's point, and Camille has a right to her point. We know that issue was split. There were women on both sides. So her point is valid, but to say, well, she would have said something is bullshit. And we all know that. I mean, if you don't know that, then I'm telling you now, when a woman is assaulted, when a woman, or a man for that matter as well, no, it's not. It's more often that they don't say something than they do. More often that they don't, I had a lot of friends in college who didn't tell anybody. Or if they told us, swore us not to tell anybody, And so when I hear that, it irritates me because I'm like, it's just not that black and white. But I understood Camille's point to say, I think this is a serious topic and I don't think there's enough evidence there for us to say that he's guilty. But of course, it became a big debate, and Camille got upset and walked away from the table, and they went back and forth. Something else happened at the table. Somebody said something that I thought was kind of cute. What did they say? Anyway, so then it got to be a smear campaign thing. And, of course, Camille said, well, I've been a victim of a smear campaign. I mean, my ex-husband did that to me, and I know what it feels like to be falsely accused about something. And, of course, she got really upset. And Lisa was like, is she comparing herself to a Supreme Court justice? Is that what we're doing now? And I think she was comparing the experience to say, I'm not so quick to believe what somebody says because I know what it's like when someone lies on you. So then the issue came up about, did you reach out to Lisa Vanderpump about not coming to the shower? And Camille said, well, yeah, I told her that she was missed. And Lisa said, I wasn't invited. Now, this is where I'm going to get on Miss Camille. Camille knows good and well that Lisa was invited. Lisa had a name at the table. Her name came up. You asked Kyle. Kyle told you she invited Lisa. So you knew Lisa was invited. So your response should have been, oh, no, you were invited. Maybe, and if you don't want to get into an argument, maybe, did you, it got lost in the mail or something to that effect. But then she's gonna basically say, oh, I didn't know you weren't invited. Well, I'm sorry. Maybe it was just overlooked. And I'm like, you knew good and damn well that Lisa was invited. And like Rinna said, she said, I know you might not want to argue with Lisa Vanderpump. You might not want to get into it with Lisa Vanderpump. But you knew she was invited. And you should just call bullshit on it. And even Miss Lois said that. Miss Lois said, that's bullshit. So that kind of came up. And, of course, Kyle was like, how you going to throw me under the bus like that? Like, you knew I invited her. Like, you knew I did. And then Kyle showed her receipts and showed that she had sent the invitation, that the invitation had been delivered. And she sent not one but two. So she said, I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's. She said, imagine me having something and not inviting Lisa Vanderpump. Like, really? And, of course, all the invitations went out before they got into their argument. So this is definitely after the fact. So that was kind of how that went down. And then we found out that Kyle's sisters are actually at the same restaurant and they see each other. Kyle and her sisters have made up now that American Woman has not been picked up for a second season. I really like that show. I'm sorry that it didn't get picked up. I'm wondering, I guess the ratings weren't that great. I don't know, but I mean, it was on a small network that doesn't have a lot of programming. So I'm like, you couldn't give it one more season to see if it picked up an audience. I think in this microwave society that we live in, I think people are so quick to just throw stuff away. When I look at shows that All in the Family, when it first came on, its ratings was in the toilet. And had the network not stuck with it and said, we're going to give it another season. And there's a lot of shows like that just don't get, they don't. But it seems like after 4 or 5 episodes, if everybody isn't looking at it, then it's like canceled. Anyway, sidebar, back to this. So, so Kyle was like, she said, maybe that's the good thing. The silver lining that came out of the show being canceled is that, hey, I got my relationship with my sisters back. So, sometimes you just got to take the good with the bad. And when a door closes, when a window closes, a door opens, And so this was a way for her family to kind of bring themselves back together. So I thought that was good. Kyle went to go comfort Camille. And in the middle of her comforting Camille asked her to be a bridesmaid. And Kyle was kind of like, okay, I mean, this isn't how I thought I would be asked, but okay, I'll be your bridesmaid, sure. So, dinner breaks up, everybody kind of leaves out, and Rinna walks right past Kyle Richards and don't have nothing to say, and she was like, look, The last time me and her interacted with each other, the way she treated me, I don't have shit to say to her. It's cool. Out of sight, out of mind. Peace. Because y'all know the whole thing went down last year with the Easter, with the bunny rabbit and all that shit, and what happened at the reunion. I ain't rehashing all of that. But basically, and don't get me wrong, Lisa was wrong last year. She said some stuff about Kim, and Kim responded. And then at the reunion, Lisa had given a gift to Kim's daughter who was having a baby, and Kim gave it back. I said I wasn't going to get into it, now I am. But anyway, and so Lisa was like, after she gave me that bunny back, it is what it is. So I'm not saying Lisa was right in that situation, but I guess Lisa's thing is, look, I sincerely apologize. I sincerely extended an olive branch. She threw it in my face. Ain't nothing more I can do about it, right? So then the last scene, which was a very powerful scene, we see Lisa Rinna talking to her mom. And what we found out was Rinna's mom was a victim of a very serious situation that made headlines. She was accosted, a friend. She said she knew this guy, and he was giving her a ride home from work. She was young then. She was like in her teens, I believe, or early 20s. And the guy went down like a deserted road and proceeded to try to assault her and really was going to kill her. And a military police officer had seen the car go down the road and knew that the road didn't go anywhere and followed when they didn't come back out anytime soon. Probably thought, they went down there to fool around or whatever. But when they didn't come back, he went and investigated. And come to find out, she was being killed, being attacked and being killed. And the military police officer actually ended up, I don't know, he didn't kill the guy because the guy went to jail for what he did to Miss Lois. But when he got out of jail, he became a serial killer and killed like 10 people or something crazy like that. And so it's clear that Miss Lois was going to be his first victim. Maybe wasn't his first victim. We may not know who his first victim was, but clearly was going to be one of his victims. And, Lisa said that her mom has plates in her head and her sense of sense is off. So he must have beat her up really badly. And she said, when I was growing up, it wasn't until I was older that you told me the story. When I was growing up, you told me somebody hit you with a hammer, in school or whatever. And she said, but as I was growing up, she said, maybe I just had this aura about me that was like, don't fuck with me. Because I've never been, raped or assaulted, she said, but I think the strength came from my mom and knowing my mom's story and what she was able to do and how she was able to fight the guy off or whatever. So I thought that was really, really deep, that story. I mean, you just never know people's story. And to find out that, she was almost a victim of a serial killer. That's like somebody, like one of the women who got away from Ted Bundy. Like, wow, But it was deep. It was a filler episode. I feel like the next couple of episodes are going to really be struggling because Lisa Vanderpump wasn't filming with the girls. I'm not sure what storylines they were going to follow with Lisa involved, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they filmed around Lisa. And that doesn't mean that the show can't go on without Lisa. It just means, y'all know Lisa's a big part of the show. And we know that they're going to eventually go to Camille's wedding, and I'm sure Lisa went to the wedding. Well, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I think Lisa went to the wedding. So we'll see how the rest of it goes down. I know this is late, y'all, so y'all might not have nothing to say to me, but let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.